I want to thank them for all of their support over the decades. In particular, Brad, you enabled the legislation for the Stonewall National Monument designation with Deborah 10 years ago. This year, so without that work in Albany, we could have not had the Stonewall National Monument. We could have not had the federal government own that little sliver of the park at Christopher Park. So here we are thanking them 10 years later, and now fighting the erasure of LGBTQ history of that site, and now we had it listed as endangered on the National Trust's most endangered list. So keep the fight. But I want to thank Deborah and Brad for being here, and I want to thank Brad for having a little bit of a segment.
Deborah.
Do you want to speak first?
Yes.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Historic Sites Project. LGBT history is hard to find on your own, and they make it possible for you and people who come to visit to understand that we have been an integral part of this city from its inception. So I want to thank Ken and everybody who is a party to it for the work that's done on a shoestring to ensure that our history is not disappeared.
Thank you. So one thing, we contacted Brad Hoylman Siegel's office to say, is there any way to get an apology from the city of New York? Because she was arrested, she was deported, and she was killed. So isn't there a way to reconcile with that, even though it was on the books? But getting an apology would mean so much, because it shows that the criminalization of LGBTQ lives really had dire consequences. And that's what's going on today. So if there's any way to get an apology, we could then have that feeling for so many people around the world to understand we're trying to make a wrong right. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, and it's such an honor to be here with Deborah Glick, who is a history maker in her own right, the first openly LGBTQ member of the New York State Legislature. I think Eve would be proud of your work. And, it's a poignant day, 100 years to the day when Eve Adams was arrested for being Jewish, for being queer, and for being an immigrant. She was ultimately deported and murdered in Auschwitz. That is an extremely sad story, and one that needs attention from our community, but all New Yorkers, and frankly, all Americans. The least we can do for Eve Adams and for those who care about Eve is to request and receive from both the city of New York and the state of New York formal apologies for the arrest of Eve Adams and a posthumous pardon from the state of New York. And I love the apocryphal apparent sign that used to hang on this establishment that men are admitted but not welcome to Eve's Hangout. As a gay man, I think that's very appropriate. But look, thank you, Ken, and the New York City LGBTQ Historic Sites Project. Assemblymember Glick is right. Without your work, future generations of queer New Yorkers and Americans won't know our history, because queer history is American history, and you make that mission known to everyone who cares about our past and our future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you for coming here. This is the close of our first part. We're going to be meeting outside now and walking from here to the arch at Washington Square Park.